What was your life like before the war, childhood?
All right, first of all, my name is Bill Fields, Fields. I was born and raised in Charlottesville, so I'm a native. And I was drafted and sent to Vietnam in 1968. I got there just as Tet started. You got to remember, we're 70 years old, so I was born in 47. And my childhood was great. We lived up until I was about 7 or 8 off of Elsom Street in Charlottesville, down there next to the train station. The big black church, the Baptist church, is right across with a beautiful steeple. Yeah, that's where I lived across the road. But we had a great childhood. We made our own entertainment. We didn't have computers. We didn't have phones. So we made go-karts and that kind of stuff.
What did you do before you were drafted, like your occupation?
Well, my dad was a World War II veteran, and I basically was told, when I first went to high school, that they didn't have the money to send me to college. So in high school, I went to distributive education, which was, they prepped you for having a job. And we went out and worked at different places, and then when I got out of school, I went to work.
What do you remember about arriving in Vietnam?
It's something you won't forget. We were green GIs. We flew in on a 707 Flying Tiger Airlines. First place we were going to land was being attacked, because like I said, Tet was going on. So we diverted to Dmya. When we landed at Dmya, they told us to get the heck off the plane because they were taking incoming fire. You got 150 GIs, nobody had weapons or equipment, and we're told to get off a plane. You've got, everything's in blackout. So the only thing you see are white flares, red flares, and income flashes from incoming mortar and rockets. And that was my introduction to Vietnam.
And what did people do in their free time, like throughout, when this was all going on?
It depends. If we were at a base camp and we happened not to be in the field, it varied. Some people would hang around. They did have a pool at Dong Tam, but I think I only visited it one time. Basically, in my spare time, I like going to the orphanages. We had an orphanage, Mito Orphanage, about 15 clicks down the road from Dong Tam, and we would fill our pockets full of hard candy and also go do whatever the nuns wanted us to do. It could be painting, it could be fixing up the place since the VC had hit it, or it could be, just bringing food and stuff to them. And then we would play with the kids. They didn't know our names, we didn't know theirs, but they knew we cared.
Did you keep in touch with anyone you met?
I've got one. I reunited with two of my Vietnam buddies back in 2010, but one has since passed away, and the other guy is in North Carolina. We had access to the news. We were able to see everything that was going on here in the States, and there's nothing more demoralizing than to be over there risking your life fighting. And back in the States, they're protesting, calling you baby killers, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just.
And this is like a two-part question. What was it like to leave the U.S., leaving behind family members, loved ones?
Well, it was rough because you didn't know whether you'd ever get back to see them. It was a weird. You get on a plane. It was kind of funny because I'd never flown before. And I get on a plane to fly out to Vietnam, and you never know whether or not you're going to come back. And you remember, we were 18, 19-year-olds. So it's not too far from your age.
And did you have any like letters, contact with people that you left in the States?
Oh yeah. In fact, I had a young lady who called me up about 4 or 5 years ago now. And she said, "Billy, Mom passed away, And she says, I found 43 letters that you had written to me in a shoebox. And she wanted to know if I wanted them back. And I said, I'd love to have them back. She said, well, I didn't know whether to ask you because I didn't want to bring up any bad memories. But I got them, I read them, I reread them, and there were names of guys, names of places that I had totally forgotten. You remember, it was not a popular war, so everything, the average GI from Vietnam, everything he had went into a closet or in a basement. I mean, photos, medals.
So what was it like returning to U.S.? You fought for your country.
Well, returning was rough because when we landed at Travis Air Force Base in Oakland, we were told to change into civvies, take your uniform off, because there were a lot of protesters out there. And of course, everybody knew who was leaving Travis was a vet, but I mean, they wanted you to get out of your uniform, and I mean, of course, you could hear them yelling at you, calling you baby killers, and they tried to spit at you and throw things, and it was not a pleasant experience. We were treated pretty crappy when we got home. We didn't have people thanking us for our service and waving a flag, patting you on the back. We had none of that. And that's one reason why the Vietnam vets are so strongly in our veterans' corner nowadays, because we don't want them treated like we were.
The questions we have. Okay. So, thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
One of the most compelling things about Mr. Fields' story is how honest he was about his experience and how he revealed to us as we talked how unfairly he was treated during the war. Although he was drafted, he was still criticized by protesters for fighting in the war. Nowadays, veterans are treated very differently and are praised for their service. But through interviewing Mr. Fields, we learned just how different the experience of serving in the military was and how it changed over time.